We spend money on education. We create a group of graduates. The top graduates, the top 20%, usually find their way abroad, and then they stay there. So it seems like we're spending more money to educate our people for the benefit of other countries, and they don't come back.
Let me tell you what NEFund has done. 242 billion naira.
Yes.
Over 1.38 million students across 288 institutions since 2024 have benefited.
Yes.
So for whatever is worth,
yes,
something has happened, isn't it?
We're going to disagree now.
Okay.
Because that's again the supply side.
Okay.
You supply more graduates. For what? If you employ graduates from university as a industry, bank, manufacturing, the government gives you a tax break of 3 years or something. Government gives you an incentive. Maybe the government pays the salary for the first 3 years so that these industries are encouraged to employ graduates. You will see the quality of graduates will improve, the quality of the teachers will improve, and the product that you bring out will be better.
Hello out there. Welcome again. This is Policy Without Politics. We've had a couple of episodes, and today we are coming with series of episodes. Maybe we'll start with one, then we go to two, we go to three, but subsequent episodes that would hold your breath. You see, a lot of people have asked me in the course of preparation to say, why are you doing this? And I keep saying that policy would come to you if you don't care about it, because a lot of people don't care because it has not affected you. If the policy is good, fine, but if it is not good, then the consequences are far-reaching. That's why we created Policy Without Politics. Today's episode is on education. We're going to look at policy on education. I have my great co-host, MCO, Chike Obi.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Okay.
Yes.
You're still gloating from your Arsenal victory, are you not?
It's for 1 year. No, we celebrate for 11 months.
No, maybe less than that. When the season starts and you lose first 4 games, maybe.
It doesn't matter. It's how we finish that matters. It's not how we start.
Yes, we're here to talk about education policy. And some of it may be in-depth. Some of it may sound very technical. But I advise that everybody listens carefully to what we talk about education, because at the end of the day, it's education imparts skills of various types. And we need to figure out what skills we want to impart, what skills are important for Nigeria, and how we do it in a way that we do not distort the landscape.
Yeah, it's so important because we could have chosen another topic in terms of priority. But I personally asked you, and we decided that we'll fast forward the topic education because of how important it is today. We can see the consequence all over our lives, either too much education or lack of it, or the policies around it and what product could have come out from those kind of policies. And that's why today we decided that we are going to really dissect the policy on education. Again, for purpose of emphasis, why we put this program together is not necessarily to critique anybody or critique administrations. It's to bring people to the conversation around policy so that they understand how it affects life. We as hosts could afford not to just live our lives. He has over 35, 40 years of experience at top level, working with Brentwood institutions. I have over 30 years experience on policy, on strategy, strategic communication, working for multinationals. So all these experiences cannot come to waste if we don't come together and begin to talk about things that affect our life. And policy is one of such things. So it is safe to say that we spend our disturbances on things that genuinely warrant it.
Yes. So we're going to approach this education conversation from a different angle. Most times we talk about education is about how much government is spending on education. IMF, World Bank, the Bretton Woods people you mentioned, they have some guideline that you spend 10 to 15% on education, maybe as high as 20% in some cases. But I think that that's not the way to look at it. I think that we need to look at the supply of education and the demand for education. Because if the demand for education is not there, the parent that sees all this expenditure in their child's education with no discernible benefit, no demand for that education, They have their children go to school, go to university, and after 20, 30 years of education, the child is at home looking for a job. So the demand for education, which is jobs, has to be there. In Nigeria, we have the unfortunate situation, which has compounded over the years through many administrations. It's not this one or the one before. Through many, where the gap between the supply of education and the demand for education has been widening. So we have a case now where, again, I'm trying to remember, there's a year of medical students, medical graduates in University of Ibadan Medical School, which used to be one of the best.
I think it's 1986.
Thereabout.
I think I saw.
Where over 80% of those doctors are abroad. So what do? We train, we spend money on education, we create a group of graduates. The top graduates, the top 20%, usually find their way abroad, and then they stay there. So it seems like we're spending more money to educate our people for the benefit, for export, for the benefit of other countries, and they don't come back. I'll give you a very sad example. A Stanford MBA graduate, freshly minted. I use Stanford because I went there, but maybe Harvard will work too. His starting salary is roughly now $150,000 a year, which is, compared to Nigeria, 200 million a year. How is he going to come back? He's not going to come back because the demand for his services are much higher abroad. So we need to start looking at ways in education policy where education joins hand with, I would say, economy, labor, to find a room for those graduates that do well and they can stay here and use their skills to grow Nigeria. If we keep letting them go away, and more are going away, it's not sustainable in the long run. Spending more money on education here will not solve that problem.
Yeah. I get your point, and I'm happy that you have, uploaded that example you did, because you could clearly see that there's a problem, and in fact, it's not just an ordinary problem. It's becoming what I call a predicament, isn't it? Yes. And that's why I put some examples on paper, because education directly impacts our lives, like you just said. Jobs and survival. But look at this. Education policy is the reason why a child in Sokoto, for example, has 67% chance of growing up without ever sitting in a classroom. It's a policy that has thrown up that kind of situation. Another example is education policy could be the reason why a school leaver in Lagos that cannot find a job, not because the job doesn't exist, but because the employers don't trust the certificate. You have alluded to that. So the policy impacts on the end product. So the emphasis you are laying generally is that maybe, and just maybe, we don't do policy for the sake of it. But in our current situation, policy should emphasize more on the demand side. Yes. What are you training people for? What are you educating people for? Not just education for the sake of it. Then that takes me to the number of universities and schools we have. Have you thought about it? If we follow what you have just recommended, we probably should have that number, if not revise that trend in terms of the numbers that spring up on a daily basis.
I think what I would like to see is a policy that balances the two.
Okay.
So if we are producing 100,000 graduates a year, let us also look on the other side to find how we can gainfully employ most of them. Right now, look, it's no accident that Nigeria became the Yahoo capital of the world. It's not an accident.
We train for that.
We have a lot of trained,
we have a pool,
brilliant minds that are not employed.
Yeah.
And so they employ themselves in doing things. I'm not advocating Yahoo, but I'm saying that it is the excess supply of unemployed graduates. I would not be surprised to find a link between that and a lot of criminal activity that goes around in Nigeria. The kidnappers are smarter now because they're mostly graduates. There was a time Aliko Dangote advertised for truck drivers. I remember I just come back from the US. And I think 3 or 4 PhDs applied to be truck drivers for Aliko. Dangote, sorry, I call him by first name. Is Chief Dangote, Alhaji Dangote. So we have an unemployed pool of people who can cause mischief. But let us suggest some solutions because it's easy. I would recommend a policy, and it can be drafted by the policy gurus who do those things, where if you employ graduates from university as a industry, bank, manufacturing, the government gives you a tax break of 3 years or something. Government gives you an incentive. Maybe the government pays the salary for the first 3 years so that these industries are encouraged to employ graduates. And some of the money we're spending in building new universities in every nook and cranny of Nigeria. And when you go to some of these universities, you will weep because they don't have enough resources.
Yeah.
So maybe some of that money can be spent encouraging the employers to employ these graduates. And if we create a demand for graduates, you will see the quality of graduates will improve, the quality of the teachers will improve, and the product that you bring out will be better. It's we have to balance both. We can't spend all the money on the supply and no money on the demand side.
So taxation as an instrument can alter the trend. That's what you are saying.
Yes.
But it's for us to even understand and appreciate and agree that there's a problem. We carry on as if there's no problem, actually, because we've not defined education and link it to development. If you ask me, we think education is an entitlement. You know, every family, for the purposes of grandstanding, will say, listen, my child went to university. It doesn't matter the course of the university. It is not predetermined, or there is no family strategy to it. What is important is that you went to university.
Well, that is changing.
It is changing. And that changing is evolving at family level.
Yes.
But as a policy, we don't have policies that will change it in the direction we want. What do I mean? If you look at how we compensate for skills.
Yes.
Imagine if there was a deliberate policy that compensates technical skills, compensates expertise rather than certificates. What I mean is that a situation where an artisan, a plumber, a mechanic earns far more than a fresh graduate, and it is deliberate, whether it is in the government sector or in the private sector, you would see that gradually people will begin to decide to say, you know what, I don't really have to go to university to read the arts or social sciences. I have God-given skills in mechanics. Can I develop it in a formalized and structured manner? And can I put it to the market and get compensated? And what comes to my mind is what happens in the UK. I think it's deliberate in the UK. You don't have to be a graduate to be regarded or rewarded.
Yes, but you make a very important point. In the US, when there was an agricultural boom in the South,
okay,
there was such a demand for skillful agriculturalists that the farmers created schools, and they call them A&M. You can go and Google this. A&M means agricultural and mechanical universities that were specializing in producing agricultural graduates and mechanical graduates. Because there was such a demand for their services that they had to actually create their own universities. It wasn't government creating universities. The most famous of them would be Texas A&M.
Okay.
A massive institution. It had expanded beyond agricultural and mechanical. It was a big institution. But the employers said, we want these people. We're going to set up our own universities. Yeah. So maybe what you're saying is that we should
be more deliberate.
Figure out what's
needed.
What's needed, and then train people for that.
Yeah.
They don't look a bachelor's in history.
Yeah.
Apologies to all those studying history. May not be as important to Nigeria today as a mechanic, a trained mechanic, who you take your car to and they can service it well.
Or a plumber.
Yeah. And it's those trained mechanics and plumbers that will eventually grow to be able to make cars in Nigeria. Yeah. So the prestige of having a bachelor's degree in English should not be fooled with the utility of having a plumber who is trained, who comes to your house and fixes your problem.
Fixes your problem, because that problem is a big pain point. And what is important in solution is that are you able to solve bring solution to a pain point. But if you have a certificate
Yes.
and you don't that certificate does not equip you with ability to address a pain point, then it's hollow. So policy we're in agreement. But let me see if we're in agreement on this. What has improved so far, especially in recent times?
Yes.
The current administration deserves fair acknowledgement, if you ask me.
Yes.
If you've heard of NEFund,
Yes.
it's been introduced by this administration and has been the most concrete policy in recent history. Let me tell you what NEFund has done. 242 billion naira.
Yes.
Over 1.38 million students across 288 institutions since 2024 have benefited.
Yes.
So, for whatever is what,
Yes.
something has happened, isn't it?
We're going to disagree now.
Okay.
Because that's again the supply side.
Okay.
You supply more graduates. For what? For Harvard and Stanford and Cambridge and Southampton. And where did you go? What school did you go to?
Well,
Look, in my year,
yes.
when I graduated at University of Lagos, I was the only first class student. And
I kept quiet because I didn't have the privilege of picking up a first degree in Nigeria. I think it was a privilege in our time.
but
Because it gives you the foundation and to go ahead. Because those of us who studied in Europe came back struggling because we had no basis. We had no classmates like you. So we were discriminated against.
I'm the worst example.
Yes.
I left with my first class.
Yes.
I kind of flew around in London for
Sometime.
a year or two. And
Yes.
it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
I came back, worked at Chase with you, and I went to Stanford.
Okay.
And I was in America for 28 years straight.
Okay.
Okay. And I only came back from unusual circumstances. So that's what happens to many of the people who Nigeria has trained. And part of the reason why I came back was because I felt I owed Nigeria something. And
Could fill a gap in need.
people may not believe that, but I actually felt I needed to come back and contribute.
Most people in your generation and mine actually felt like that.
I need to contribute.
Because Nigeria actually did something or gave something.
Gave something to us.
To our generation.
But we left. And many of my productive years were spent abroad.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm afraid. So if NEFund is spending that amount of money, maybe if you spend half of it on the supply side,
Yes.
and half of it incentivizing the employers
Yes.
to employ graduates. Now, the youth service, which I think you've thought about, National Youth Service, it was created at the time of nationalistic fervor by the military. We need to have a serious conversation
Around that scheme.
That scheme.
Yes.
That scheme costs a lot of money, but does it do any good?
Yeah.
Does it interrupt a person's development?
Yes, I've thought about it, and I am going to suggest that we isolate the NYSC and talk about it on its own, because it's such a conversation that needed to be brought to the fore in Nigeria. It's a humongous scheme, big implication, a lot of budget behind it, but what does it deliver? So we are going to talk about that.
We can talk about that.
But let me still press on about what good has come out in recent times.
I don't agree that the money being spent on NEFund
Yes.
is properly directed.
Yes, okay, I see your point. What I agree with is that at least it's a novel idea. Now that the first steps have been taken, I agree with you that maybe 50-50 for the next phase. 50 for the supply side and 50 for the demand side.
Okay.
Would that be okay in terms of balance?
I agree.
I like rebalancing. Yeah.
I agree with that.
But look at it. 2025 education budget of Nigeria, 3.52 billion is the highest in the Nigerian history. So you can see that the train has left the station. If I can,
3.52 billion. That cannot be true.
Well, that is what it says. What do you think it is?
You mean trillion?
In education budget, the budget
3 billion.
Trillion. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll
have run out of this podcast.
Naira has gone such a way that now you don't know the.
Is that
Yes.
in dollar terms? Is that 3.52 trillion bigger than the education budget 10 years ago?
That's why I'm coming to that. Because for context, the 2025 budget grew even when government has come under serious fiscal pressure. Yet they at least paid more attention in terms of setting aside more money.
What was it in dollar terms versus 2020 versus 2015?
I'm coming to that. So, but we have to accept that choosing to allocate more to education in such an environment is worth naming.
also
Yes.
supply.
Yes.
You see, I have no problem if we spend 10 trillion on education. But we should look at the supply and the demand. And until we address the demand side, I guarantee you it's unsustainable.
Yes.
People will continue to be educated here and they will continue to either leave or be underutilized.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I hope it never happens to you. But when I was at AMCON, we were supposed to employ by CBN guidelines no more than 300 people. We got 50,000 CVs. 50,000 is what we got. The biggest issue I had as managing director of AMCON was people asking for jobs for their children.
Yeah.
It's a very traumatic thing to have your child trained, graduated, and sitting at home with no job.
Redundant.
I've seen people that had their kids at home for 3 years.
It's incredible.
And it's a very painful thing. And I think that until we address that, the incentive to send your child to school, which is very expensive, as you know, will keep reducing.
Yeah.
And people will stop studying. I mean, and when they get to these universities, what do? They get involved in student union activities because they want to be politicians. And that's politics is one place that people can be employed. So we need to really, in anything you say or we do, look at the demand side. I think that's a message I want to give.
To pass today,
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. But since we have a bit of time, let me now kind of bring to the table where the honest problems are. And this is in my own estimation, because you alluded to it. Look at what the numbers are saying. In 2015, education budget was 10.75% of the national budget.
Yes.
However, in 2025, it was 5.47, nearly half a decade.
Yes.
So it means that even though the numbers are increasing, but when you do the comparative analysis in terms of value, it has halved again in terms of what the impact. But let's look at what is happening in neighboring African countries, some of them non-neighboring like South Africa. But let's start with Ghana. Ghana, 13% allocated to education. Kenya, 20%. South Africa, 9%. Nigeria is only 7.3%. Nigeria is not leading on any of these measures.
As we know, we have other priorities.
What are those priorities? If education is not a priority.
Education should be a priority.
Okay.
But you and I will agree if we say, from now on, let the government look at the demand side. That's all I'm asking them to do. I'm not saying don't build a university in your village, but also when you build a university in your village, ask yourself, what will those graduates do?
Yeah.
Because it's very, very important. I remember when I was at Goldman Sachs. At that time, working on Wall Street was extremely popular. And we're interviewing a gentleman, went to Harvard, had a medical degree from Harvard. He was a specialist in medicine. To be a specialist in medicine from Harvard,
it's a big deal.
Requires many years.
Okay.
And he wanted to come and work as a trader at Goldman Sachs under me. And I looked at him, he was brilliant. And I said, we shouldn't hire this guy. This is a waste of training. And we didn't hire him because we just couldn't imagine having that guy as a trader selling trading bonds.
Yeah, so you refuse to be a gold digger? Because I think most employees are they go big, they're gold diggers.
We asked him why he wanted to come trade. He said, because I'll make more money.
Yeah.
Which was true. And that was a distortion in the system, which has slowly corrected. But if you give people the incentive that are distorted, the smart ones will take advantage. That's why a specialist doctor from Harvard would want to be a trader.
Yeah.
And we need to discourage that institutionally.
Yeah.
We need to discourage our people from all running into politics. We need to introduce people from being criminals. And the way to do it is to find them prestigious, gainful employment. That's why I keep emphasizing the demand side is very, very,
very important. Very important.
A lot of people are now doing acting because they see a few stars of music.
Yeah.
And yes, because of that,
They come to stardom very quickly.
we've done very well in the entertainment industry, which again, another topic we should encourage.
Yeah.
But unless there's an incentive, unless somebody sees step A will lead to a better life, they won't take it.
So now that we are winding down on this, education is so important that I suspect that we may down the road have a part 2 on policy on education, because the feedback I'm getting is that it's such an interesting topic. It touches everybody. It touches on life, families, and it impacts on how the nations position themselves in terms of accelerated growth for future. But let me go back to gold digging, because I put it so that to spice up this conversation.
Yeah.
Employers deliberately look for the first class bracket. They look for 2 ones. Is that not gold digging in your estimation? I think it is gold digging. How do you understand it?
Well, I don't think that's gold digging, because I think you have to give people incentive to do better.
Yeah.
So if
So what happens to the rest? Does it
they
mean
should
that?
work harder.
But well, you're already out with a 2-2 or a third class. Does it mean does it mean you are condemned? It doesn't make you any less competent.
It may make you less competent, because the thing you chose to do,
Yeah.
you got 2-2, another people have got 2-1.
Yeah. While
So
you were
clearly,
while you were a teenager. Now you're an adult.
I understand. I understand there are people who don't go to school,
Late bloomers. Yeah.
like Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Steve Jobs, I don't think he went to
The formal.
university and he invented Apple. No, there are going to be
But those are extreme cases.
there are going to be extreme cases. In general, you need to give people incentive to get a 2-1,
Yeah.
not a 2-2 or a third class. So I'm not so sure that we should pressure. What we should do is incentivize by tax breaks or by other means people
To get it
to hire
more graduates.
more third class graduates.
Then, yeah.
So if you hire a first class or you hire a 2-1,
Yeah.
fine, pay salary.
Yeah.
But for every
Third class
2 or third class you hire, we'll pay the salary for 3 years.
for 3 years. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But again,
Because we have that pool. We are talking about how do we reduce this pool.
that pool.
Yes.
What you and I can do is to suggest how to look at policy.
Yeah.
Now, the exact policy may be something else, but
That's technical.
we must address the demand imbalance. We must as a nation. And if we don't, we will get into serious development problems.
So the unique selling proposition for today's episode is addressing the demand side of it. That imbalance is where the problem is with all the policies we've had since
In education,
in education since Tafawa Balewa.
Let me add one thing.
Yes.
If we had a wonderful university, we'll call it the Dr. Ken Ikpe University in Owerri.
It's coming.
In Owerri. And every student had a first class. You wouldn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't solve your problem.
Yes.
Because they either go abroad
Yeah.
or they'll use it for non-productive.
Devious minds. Yes.
Non-productive.
Yeah, because an intelligent man in crime is very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
So getting more good graduates is not our current problem.
Yeah.
Getting them gainfully employed is our problem.
Yeah. Or suitable for gainful employment.
Yes.
Is where
Yes. No, but I'm just giving you all the first class students. So you've gotten them there.
Yeah, I don't need them. We don't have universities to accommodate all of them. I'm making a case for this 2-2 for the third classes.
Yes.
Yeah, but of course I am not in that category. But I'm making a case for them because I know at some turn people change and become more useful than they were as teenagers.
So you give them a chance.
Yeah,
You give them a chance, but
I always do.
with government incentives. You can do government incentives for the 2-2 and third class.
Yes.
Because theoretically, the first class and the 2-1s will not have a problem.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. But during the course of various episodes we've had recently, your pep peeves have become very popular. And I'm very sure you can't wait. This is the time for your pep peeve.
I have a number of pet peeves.
One for today.
So, doctor, my pet peeve of the day is the IMF.
Okay?
The IMF have been making some recommendations to Nigerian government, some of which the Nigerian government has properly rejected. My problem with IMF is that they know better. I don't understand why. I have worked with them. And they know better. So let me talk specifically. They want us to, they say our currency is undervalued and it should be strengthened to from 1400, around where it is, to about 1100.
Yeah.
And I asked the question, at what cost? Then they also added, to show how devious they are, that we should continue tightening monetary policy. Keep interest rates high, in other words. So, at what cost to Nigerian industry and development should we keep interest rate high so that the Naira can strengthen? Yes, a stronger Naira is good for consumption of foreign goods, but it's bad for development if we have to pay 30% interest rates. We are killing all our industries. Nobody who is manufacturing or industrial can survive at 30% interest rate for a long period of time. President Trump in the US is fighting with his CBN to lower interest rates, even when it's clear he shouldn't. Yet they come and they tell us to keep our interest rates at over 30% so that we can keep a currency strong, so we can develop, we can export. They know better. The IMF and the US fought China for 30 years because they said China currency was undervalued. And it was this undervalued currency of China that made them the export giants of the world. Why is IMF afraid of Nigerian development? 30% interest rate is not sustainable for any country for any length of time. It's an emergency measure. You use it from time to time to control inflation. But to advise us on an ongoing basis to keep interest rates high, they know better. Additionally, they said we should raise fuel tax. We should put in a fuel tax. I am not aware of any country in the world that has fuel tax that does not have an established public transportation system. We don't have it here. So if you put fuel tax here, it will just go straight to the private sector, raising prices and creating more hardship for the people you say you're trying to help. IMF, please, you know better. Give us better advice. Please. No more of this, keep Nigeria down so that they can buy foreign goods and we can have enough currency so that we can pay your debts. Enough. That's my pet peeve of the day.
Fantastic. My take on that as we close for today is that advice is advice. You can give me the advice. What I decide to do with it is a different thing, because you are paid to give the advice. So you are an expert. You give an advice. It is what I process of the advice and how I deploy it that matters. Don't forget, at the end of the day, is to better the lives of our people that is important. Because the Igbo proverb says that if I tell you a proverb and end up explaining it to you, then the bride price they paid for your mother is a waste. So we'll end with that.
On that
MCO.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next week we'll discuss another very important topic, and I'll introduce that as we close.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.